Hello everyone, today I'm bringing you a video about 5 heroes that you need to learn how to play in Marvel Rivals that will help you dominate the competition and quickly climb through the ranks. Now these picks might surprise you, but trust me, they are absolute powerhouses when played correctly. You'll be seeing heroes that are often overlooked by the player base at large, either because they are played incorrectly or how simple some of their kits may seem at first. But all of these heroes have the necessary tools to not only carry games from any position, but to also completely shut down the most popular meta picks, ensuring that you have a much greater chance of success in your ranked games and can achieve great results. So with that being said, hello everyone, my name is Dark Hero and let's break down why these heroes are secretly OP and how you can use them to climb the ranks. Now when it comes to playing ranked in Marvel Rivals and trying to climb as quickly as possible, there's going to be a lot of games where you're going to need to fill up a role because your teammates simply do not want to do so. And it just so happens that the role that people want to play the least, or at least know how to play the least, is Vanguard. And that is where learning how to play the Hulk is going to come in big time. Because let me tell you, not only is this hero incredibly powerful, but he can also provide a great boom to your team thanks to his team-up abilities. Now I have done an extensive deep dive analysis on the rank 1 Marvel Rivals player that has been abusing Hulk and finding a ton of success with him to climb through the ranks, so if you want a full detailed analysis, go watch that video that is linked below the like button. But to give you the spark notes on Hulk, not only are you an extremely tanky character with a shield that you can apply to yourself and nearby allies, and whenever you or an ally is hit, or whenever you or an ally absorbs damage with that shield, they will actually gain some ultimate back, but you've also got a special unique stun ability in the form of your radioactive lockdown that is different from any other stun in the game because no one else can interrupt it, so none of your teammates are going to accidentally remove the stun from the enemy, but you've also got a lot of mobility with your leap that you can have on a very fast cooldown, and of course you get basically a second life whenever you go down, as you turn back into Bruce Banner, kind of like you would with Diva. And then your ultimate is like Primal Rage, where regardless of how much HP you have whenever you activate your ultimate, you immediately have 1500 HP. And then all of your abilities are boosted, so you deal more damage, you knock enemies away, your Gamma Burst gets a very short cooldown so you can keep on spamming it for additional damage. But then after all of that, you still have the amazing team-up abilities. You get a special team-up with Wolverine where you can pick him up and throw him, but that's the least important out of the three. The other two are with Doctor Strange and Iron Man. For Doctor Strange, not only do you increase the Doctor's damage that you deal with your E, your AoE ability that deals more damage, the more dark magic you have. But I believe it also expands the range of the ability and makes it so that whenever you reach the maximum of dark magic of 100, you don't get the anti-heal debuff that Doctor Strange would normally get after staying at 100 dark magic for a little bit. So you will be able to consistently deal more damage with your big AoE ability. And you gotta keep in mind that Doctor Strange is pretty much the #1 tank in the game. He's very easy to pick up and play, and whenever there is a tank missing, people tend to gravitate towards him because he is simply that good. And thus by learning to play Hulk, you would be complementing this pick very well. Then there's also the team-up ability with Iron Man, which makes it so that whenever the Iron Man presses his E ability, which improves his left click and right click, well, the Iron Man will be dealing a lot more damage as long as there is a Hulk on the team. And let me tell you, Iron Man is one of those characters that people have been sleeping on for a very long time, but especially with this team-up, he becomes an insanely powerful character. But going back to the Hulk, despite him having a very simple kit, the difficulty that comes from playing the Hulk is knowing when it's the best time to go in, engage on the enemy, and to disengage on the enemy. How to significantly harass them and make them waste valuable cooldowns while also keeping track of your own strategists, knowing how far they can push to be able to heal you, and being careful not to dive too deep. All of that is very important with Hulk, so again I refer you back to the full detailed analysis that I made on the Hulk in a dedicated video that you can find below the like button. Now when it comes to strategists in Marvel Rivals, it's very fair to say that the game is currently dominated by Mantis and Luna Snow. Not only are both of these characters very competent healers in their own right, but they also deal a ton of damage, especially Mantis, and their ultimates are completely game changing as they are able to essentially counter most of the ultimates that the game has, and if used at the right time will give you a huge opening to push forward, get some aggressive picks, contest the point and turn the game around. As a result, all the other strategists tend to fall behind behind and not get as much attention. However, I do want to recommend you to give Adam Warlock a shot, because this character is actually pretty insane and not a lot of people are utilizing this hero to its full potential. So let me explain. Without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best things that Adam Warlock has going for him is his insane damage output. As if you fully charge your right click and land it on an enemy, you'll be able to one-shot the squishier enemies, and this will very often catch someone off guard around the corner and can give you a massive advantage. You've also got some animation cancels that you can do with Adam Warlock that allow him to deal a lot of damage without having to commit to holding right click. Additionally, as a strategist, his healing is actually pretty powerful, with his E ability allowing him to heal an ally for a ton of healing at once, which will also be shared to nearby allies. However, the problem is that you only gain 2 charges of this ability, which has a significant cooldown, and there is no other way for you to heal your teammates. So you do need to be careful about how you choose to use this ability, and Adam Warlock is likely not going to be a fantastic solo strategist. But if you have a second support, then you're totally fine. But of course, the thing that Adam Warlock is known for is the ability to revive his teammates. And that is where I see a lot of people misusing his kit and not really understanding how to use his ultimate to its full potential. Because I often see people popping the ultimate in the middle of a team fight or before the allies die or anything like that. But what you can do instead with Adam Warlock to guarantee that you win these team fights is to actually pop the ultimate behind in cover, away from any possible danger, and then you walk up with Adam Warlock close to where your teammates died, because your revive radius is tied to you and not the cocoon that you spawned with your ultimate. So your teammates are still going to be revived where you pressed your Q, safe from any possible danger, but you can effectively double if not triple the range of the revive with his ultimate by simply walking up with Adam Warlock after placing it down. Seriously, this is going to give you a massive advantage over team fights, because people tend to use valuable cooldowns and ultimates as well to gain these team fights, and a well-timed Adam Warlock ultimate that revives everyone can make a huge difference. But that is not all, because Adam Warlock has a unique passive called the Regenerative Cocoon. Basically, you get to revive yourself on a 100-second cooldown, as whenever the enemies kill you, you get to enter this elusive state where you can freely move around with your soul and select the place where you're going to be resurrected. This is of course extremely helpful because you can be dove and the enemies are then out of position and they don't really end up killing you, so you still get a second chance to come back to life and help your teammates around. But a really cool thing about Adam Warlock is that his team up ability gives that same passive to Mantis and StarLord. Now StarLord, spoilers, we're going to be talking about him in a moment. He's a pretty powerful DPS character on his own right, but as I said before, Mantis is one of the meta-defining characters in the entire game, and so having the ability to play more aggressive with Mantis and also getting a free revive on top thanks to teaming up Mantis with Adam Warlock is a lot of value that you would bring to your team. And you're going to find a lot of players that are going to be insta-locking Mantis or Luna Snow, and so if you need a new strategist to learn and carry games with, Adam Warlock is going to be the pick for you. And as I was explaining before during the Hulk segment, one of the most slept on characters in the entire game has to be Iron Man. But I do have to say that I believe that not only does he become more popular, but he also becomes a lot stronger as you go up in the ranks. So let me explain what I mean by this and why you should start playing him. So as far as abilities are concerned, Iron Man is a pretty simple character. You fly up into the air and fire long range AoE projectiles with your left click, and whenever it's time to home in on a single enemy, you go in with right click to deal more damage. With you of course using your E to upgrade the damage of both your left click and right click, so knowing when it's the right time to use it is going to be very beneficial, and also having the missile barrages that you can do while flying around the map. But one very cool thing about the Iron Man has to be the ultimate. It's a very simple and straightforward ability where you essentially send out a nuke. But the cool thing about it is that it's one of the very few abilities in the entire game that is going to one-shot enemies through the Mantis and the Luna Snow ultimates, and given how powerful and popular these two characters are, I would argue that they are two of the most meta-defining heroes in the entire game, as they are able to essentially neutralize any team fight by using their ultimates, and in the case of the Luna Snow ultimate, it can be especially aggravating for the opposing team, making it so that no one on your own team and doesn't die for 12 seconds. Well, with Iron Man you simply send out your ultimate and everyone in the vicinity is going to die. So it's a fantastic ultimate to counter those pesky ultimates and can thus have a very big impact on the game. On top of that, as I mentioned before, the team up ability with Hulk truly allows Iron Man to deal much more damage than you would normally do and makes the character feel so much more consistent. Now the problem with playing Iron Man into the lower elos is that, for one, because there is no ban system in place, you're going to find very often opposing Hellas and Hawkeyes, which I would argue are the natural counters to Iron Man, as both of these characters can snipe Iron Man out of the air very easily. But even if you remove these two heroes out of the equation, you have to be especially attentive with Iron Man and be at all times keenly aware of the position of your strategists, as most of them will not be able to heal you while you are in the air, and you should also try to use as much natural cover as possible to try to avoid taking damage, simply so that you are not a, let's say, flying duck for the enemies to shoot at. And well, truth be told, especially in the lower elos, you're not going to find many strategists that will remember that they have an Iron Man on the team, and so they're not really going to look up into the sky to see how well you're doing and if you need any assistance. But of course, as you climb through the ranks, you're going to eventually find Mantis players that you can ask to pocket you for a little bit, so they can give you a damage boost and heal you, letting you engage on the enemies from an off angle or get a sneaky ultimate from behind, resulting in a lot of damage. It's not exactly as broken as having a Pharah Mercy pocket combo, but you will still find a ton of success with Iron Man, especially if you have someone that is there to assist you. Now the next character that I would recommend you all to pick up and play, that has been getting more popular and is even more powerful as you climb through the ranks, is going to be StarLord. Now StarLord is a very powerful character, being able to deal a ton of damage from a distance while also being able to close in the gap very quickly or dodge incoming abilities thanks to his shift, the rocket propulsion, which gives him a ton of mobility. And then you couple that with his right click that you have two different charges of, that allows you to perform a dodge roll that has iframes and allows you to dodge anything the game throws at you, be it an ultimate, a stun, anything. So just with these two abilities you have a lot of survivability and ways to distract your enemies so that you can go into the backline, harass them for a little bit, maybe get a pick or two, and watch as the enemies try to frantically aim towards you and snipe you out of the air. Mastering StarLord's mobility is imperative to have success with him. Now truth be told, it's also very important to have good aim with this character because, much like with Tracer from Overwatch, you burn through your ammo very quickly, and even though you have a ton of DPS if you land your shots, if you don't, you're going to find yourself using right click more often than not just to reload your guns, and then you're not going to have that additional survivability component. Now that being said, if you are playing in the low ranks, you can totally still pick StarLord, and even if you don't have good aim, you can just spend 10-20 seconds firing at a tank with the sole intent to build up your ultimate. And then when you finally get it, you fly up and go into the backline, and with the auto aim that you get from the ultimate, you're able to destroy any enemy that shows up in front of you. And of course you can even use right click to reload the gun even faster, so you can very often win entire team fights by just using this ultimate at the right moment. Now another very important aspect to playing StarLord is that you need to practice different off angles, engaging on the enemy team from a different angle while your tank is also engaging on them, so you make it more difficult for them to deal with you. That being said, there are a couple of heroes that are able to more easily defeat StarLord, and I would even argue that they are essentially natural counters to him, those being Hela and Hawkeye, as they are able to easily snipe you out of the air. However, because everyone knows just how powerful both of these characters are, once you get to Diamond, when you are finally able to ban characters, you'll see that more often than not, both of these heroes are going to be banned, which gives you a lot more room to play with StarLord and go crazy on the enemy team. Now another thing that I would also recommend you to do when playing StarLord is, similarly to when you are playing with Iron Man, you're going to need to pay closer attention to your strategists, as many of them will not be able to heal you while you are in the air. So if you have a Rocket Raccoon, for example, try not to get too far away from them, but at the same time, if you have a Mantis on the team, you can ask them to pocket you for a little bit while you have your ultimate or are trying to do a sneaky engage on the enemy backline, so you have the Mantis give you a damage boost and also heal you for a little bit, and that is going to result in a lot of damage. And of course, as I mentioned before, you also get this special synergy whenever you have Adam Warlock on the team that allows you to, on a big cooldown, essentially get a free revive. So if you notice that your free revive from having Adam Warlock on the team is currently available, you can try to go for a risky pick, and in case you aren't successful and end up dying, this passive will revive you, so there's no harm in doing so. As I've been explaining throughout this video, some team-ups can create these very powerful hero cores, where everything synergizes with each other and leads to a very powerful team that can have a much bigger edge over the opponents, and that is what you want to exploit. And seeing as also when you get to Diamond, a lot of players tend to ban Luna Snow as well, you're going to have more matches with an Adam Warlock on your team, and thus you'll be able to abuse this team up for your enjoyment. So if you are cracked at aiming or tracking the enemy, kind of like those pro Overwatch players on Tracer, and you also enjoy the fast-paced movement, then StarLord is going to be the hero for you. And again, even if you don't have great aim, you can still find a lot of success with him. And the final character that I would recommend everyone to pick up and learn, and this one is going to sound wild to a lot of people, but trust me, this one is absolutely insane and is going to carry you through a ton of games, and that is Wolverine. Yes, the hero that everyone put at the very bottom of the tier lists at the beginning of the game is, in my opinion, one of the best heroes to climb through ranked with. So let me explain. Wolverine has a hidden passive that is not explained anywhere in the game. To know about this, you have to go into the game's website that tells you that as you build up your Berserker Rage, that is his unique meter that you build up by dealing damage or taking damage, not only do you deal more damage, but you deal a lot more damage against enemies the higher their max HP is. That is to say that Wolverine is a tank killer. You see, people were rating Wolverine as a low tier character because they were playing him as an assassin, diving the backline and trying to take down these strategists. However, that is not your place as Wolverine. You're not going to be diving the backline as often. The way you play Wolverine is you try to isolate a tank, grab them with your Feral Leap and bring them into the middle of the team and absolutely decimate them in an instant, and then turning the fight into a 6v5. Play around corners and wait for the vanguards to walk up and then kidnap them into your team and destroy them. This might sound like a weird and risky playstyle, but with your E and Dying Animal buff, reducing the damage that you take by 50% for 5 seconds, and your regenerative healing factor passive essentially giving you a second life every 90 seconds, you're going to find that Wolverine can be extremely tanky if played in the right situations, and you'll be able to not only make a lot of space for your team to deal damage and dive the enemy backline, but you'll also be able to destroy their front line, which is going to give you a massive advantage, provided that is that the enemies have tanks and you are playing around them. So Wolverine ends up being this sort of broken OP pick that you can select as long as the enemy has vanguards for you to take advantage of. If the enemy team only has a single vanguard, Wolverine ends up losing a lot of value, and if they have no vanguards, then I wouldn't really recommend you to play Wolverine. But if they do have 2 or 3 vanguards, man oh man, you're going to have a fun time with this character and your team is going to thank you. So in the tank matchups with Wolverine, the ones that you're going to find the easiest to deal with are going to be Groot, Doctor Strange, Penny Parker and Thor, as all of these tanks don't have a lot of mobility, and against Doctor Strange you can go through his shield and there's really nothing he can do against you, and against Groot you can even build up rage by hitting his walls, so it's really one of the easiest matchups in the entire game. Venom can be a bit tricky because of his mobility, but the character isn't really all that powerful, so I wouldn't be really all that concerned, and Magneto really is the only tank that can pose a threat against you, simply because his bubble can protect him from your damage and your grab, but as long as you are mindful of that, you're still going to be able to crush him with ease. There's a few special combos that you can do with Wolverine, some animation cancels, and a few tricks that I'm going to be showing in a future video, so if you are excited for that, please subscribe to the channel, as I have been playing a ton of Wolverine and I have a lot to say about this character. In the meantime, if you found this video helpful, please like and share the video with your Marvel Rivals friends, and let me know if there is a character that you would recommend me to include in this video. With that being said, my name is Dark Hero, and thank you all so much for watching.